A very good morning, our viewers. Welcome to the program. This is The Dialogue. Every Saturday morning, we sit to look at matters that made headline through the week. We internalize them and we put them into context. Welcome once again from that long week. And we appreciate you, our viewers from wherever you're watching from, across the borders and in Uganda. Those who are watching over our Salt Media app, thank you so much for tuning in. It is time now to look at those issues, and the panel will be discussing those particular issues. A lot happened in this week. We have a cocktail of issues to dissect, from Parliament to our neighbors in Kenya. We have also to look at what is happening now in UK as the country and the whole world is mourning the passing of the British royal Queen Elizabeth II, who passed on Thursday at the age of 96, the head of the Commonwealth and other several 15 countries. And of course, we have to look at her legacy and the mixed feelings that came with her death. We can also come back to look at what is happening in Western Uganda. Reports show that more than 15 people died in the Rwenzori sub-region, more particularly in Kasese, where mudslides buried people. And even as we speak, efforts to retrieve bodies of the dead are still going on. And government, I can authoritatively say that it is down on the ground. 2 ministers have been sent to take relief to the victims, and we grieve with the families of those that lost lives in that tragic incident. Of course, we celebrate all achievements that have been made through the week, but of course, I have to introduce my panel and we look into these matters. My name is Prince Apollo. I wish to introduce Richard Baguma, communication specialist, health and nutrition specialist. Welcome to the show. It is a privilege to have you on The Dialogue this morning.
Good morning, viewers. Always a pleasure to be here. The other day when they said I was a health and a nutrition specialist, then I found somebody who was asking me what they should eat at their age. I said, no, I think I should change it. It's a health and nutrition communication or advocacy specialist, because now people think I'm a doctor. But it's always a pleasure to be here. Apollo, I'm happy about the rains. I'm also sad about the rains.
Okay.
Happy that the rains have come, and the rains come with life.
Yeah.
Water is always life, but also water is death in the circumstances that you have talked about. And I thank the viewers for keeping with us and giving us feedback.
The feedback is
now
very positive.
I get some feedback, yes. So that's I thank them for that too.
Good. Have you had your coffee?
Apollo, I am going to report you to my friend. I'm going to report you to Aloysius. You see, Pastor Aloysius Bujingo is a very generous man.
Yeah.
We have known him for quite a bit, and he has told you that. For you to bring me here every morning and you don't give me coffee and you give excuses, surely water and a quarter kilo of sugar or something, I'm going to report you. So I haven't had my coffee, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, I hope you had a good week, Richard.
Yes. Except for these deaths, not that one we'll talk about, but except for these deaths of people swept away by water and mud. And we talked about this, you know, 3-4 programs ago, we said, for sure, as the day follows night, there are going to be mudslides in Kasese and in the Rwenzori region, and people are going to die. They did. It's not, we are not prophets of doom. We are just analysts. Really, and there are certain things that are obvious. So for me, that was the sad part of the week. The good part of the week, two things for me. One was the election, the final election settlement in Kenya. We had talked about it, and I had my sentiments. So I'm happy about
the Supreme ruling.
I'm happy about that. But secondly, here is the spat between the speaker and the prime minister.
The prime minister.
Yes. I thought for me it was, I want to be very polite, I'm talking about honorable members, but I think it was not very smart to try and ban Nyege. I don't think it is smart. I think it's one of the unsmartest things. And for those people who are standing on the floor of parliament using morality as the reason. Aye. So that was my week.
You think
morality?
They lack the moral authority?
No, not just. I mean, I don't think it's particularly smart. So
really?
That for me was
actually my week. It's not a discussion, but I was also intrigued by those statements from the Right Honourable telling the whole House that some people are out to take his life, her life.
That was the Honourable Speaker.
Yes, the Right Honourable Speaker making that pronouncement on the floor of Parliament that indeed people, individuals may be out to finish her off. And I said that
for me it was the timing, because it's the Nyege timing for me. I said, okay, Nyege is shifting from Itanda now to Kampala and to that parliamentary, and they are all together, they are neighbors.
It is Nyege.
It's the one that brought out the information. If we didn't have a Nyege spat between the two very important ladies, we probably this information would have remained in their realm. So that's why it made my week.
Okay. Thank you so much, Richard Baguma, and viewers. I must introduce Dr. Gerard Werihe Wanzara. He is the head of research and civic engagement at Africa Leadership Institute, an institution that does oversight on parliament and other government bodies. Thank you so much for coming, Doctor.
Thank you, Apollo. Good morning, viewers. It's always good being here every Saturday. My week was fine, and that's why I'm looking healthy here.
We need to debate.
Yeah, thank you so much, Doctor.
Some nutritional lessons from you.
Yeah. He talked about an institution of parliament, and we have over time witnessed this clash between the executive and the legislature, even during Kadaga's reign. You would hear those statements, the two institutions clashing at one point. One statement.
Yeah, sometimes it is necessary to clash, depending on the matter that is pushing them to clash. For instance, a situation where a bill is passed, and this bill probably is pro-people, and the executive comes to stifle it, there I would encourage the leadership of parliament to clash with the executive. Sometimes conflict is necessary to find a solution. But for this particular one, it was not necessary. One, people are recovering from COVID-19. You know, tourism was grounded. A lot of people lost jobs. And Nyege is one of those events in this country that make money. Of course, there would be argument that there's a lot of immorality that goes on, but nobody has evidence to quantify this level of immorality.
They can see.
We always see
they
Uganda,
go there, they see it.
Uganda Matters Day is a Christian event.
Yeah, true.
But I can assure you what happens around Chireka, Boyogere, before Matters Day and during Matters Day. There's nothing different from what happens.
But one evil does not justify another one, anyway. One wrong.
I cannot confirm that's evil. But where, of course, people are drinking, spending a night, there is bound to happen some things. But I don't think that the clash was necessary.
Okay.
I think Parliament went overboard. Of course, the concern for morality is there, but I would also challenge there is a lot of immorality in terms of how we spend public funds, in terms of how we respond to issue of human rights. Those are areas of immorality.
So we should not only
address.
look at immorality in terms of what happens in Nyege and other events.
Exactly. We need to look at morality even in respect to how we conduct ourselves in public office, how we account for public funds, and how we behave, how we use the offices that we hold. Yeah, we shouldn't pretend the way we carry everything in a black cavera. Pretending we don't want the world to see what is inside. So I believe the parliament went overboard over that.
Finally, what did you make of that pronouncement that individuals are after the speaker's life?
That is a matter of security, because the speaker is a responsible person in this country. I would, if she came to make such a statement, probably she has filed a case somewhere. So if it is true, we don't want to lose any lives, because Ugandans have been killed under very, very weird circumstances. So I call upon security to ensure that they investigate, but also if her security is not enough, to strengthen it, because we don't want to lose any lives of any Ugandans.
Yeah, true. Thank you so much, our viewers. That is how we kick off the debate. In the dialogue, we will, of course, later in the program get a live update from London. We told you the British monarch died on Thursday. The head of the British monarchy died on Thursday, Queen Elizabeth II, 70 years on the throne, and of course we can talk about the mixed feelings that come with the Queen's death, as several countries and world leaders are sending in condolences, and of course, like here in Kenya, they have already declared the 3 days of mourning, the death of the Queen. But of course, there are other countries and other individuals who think that probably the reign of Queen Elizabeth also reminds them of the brutal legacy under colonialism, of Britain under colonialism, and other evils. I looked at a document from the opposition party in South Africa, Economic Freedom Fighters. Julius Marema issued a statement, of course, telling the whole world that they will not be mourning the death of Queen Elizabeth, because for them, they say that the monarchy, of course, serves as a reminder of the very tragic period in the history of South Africa. She benefited from the wealth and plunder of countries like South Africa, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. And of course, they highlighted the death of some prominent people in the history of South Africa, attaining in the fight of its independence. And we have talked about these mixed feelings that come with the legacies of some big people, even here in Uganda. Richard, what do you make of this legacy that brings mixed feelings?
For me, I think if you are somebody of any consequence, you are bound to generate mixed feelings. Yeah. If you are anybody of any consequence, doesn't matter what leadership role or other role you play. If you are a head teacher, if you are a pastor, you are bound to. So that for me is not out of the ordinary. That there's mixed assessments about the legacy of Queen Elizabeth. But secondly, the level of scrutiny on Queen Elizabeth is compounded by the position she held. I was just thinking the other day that I'm Anglican. And Elizabeth is the supreme
head of the church,
leader,
the Anglican Church.
Of the Anglican Church. How did she become? Because her great-great-grandfather rebelled against the leader of the church then.
The Catholic.
Yeah, because the church then was the Catholic Church. And so he rebelled against the Pope. And really it was about a love affair, a woman affair. But also, how did Elizabeth's line get into taking over? Because the grandfather was prince, not really the one in line. Again, because of the one who was king abdicating the throne, again over a love affair with a woman. Yes, she was going to marry an American woman who was, I think, twice a divorcee, according to the history I was reading. And the British people said, Nichikafua. And he said, no, I love my woman so much, I will leave this throne to the grandparent of Elizabeth. And that's how they come into line. So it's like now you have this line, which is in kingship, because we know the Barangira have also lines. Some Barangira are not in line. And that's how it was with the grandparents of Queen Elizabeth. So they are not saints.
Okay.
No, we are not talking about people who are saintly, but they are in positions. And for me, we must judge first the girl. The girl who was thrust into the limelight and positions of responsibility, power, and privilege at a very young age.
Okay. Queen Elizabeth II.
And she held that for 7 decades with grace. I think we must give that to her.
A credit?
Yeah, we must give that to her. There are very few of us who are able to handle power, privilege with grace. When we even fail when we are older. How about when we are younger? And we are female in a very male-dominated
society
context, yes. So I think that for me, if nothing else, that we should give it to her. But secondly, she's presided over a time that has been very tumultuous politically, a global tumultuous political situation. And so you can imagine, she was so clever, and we did not even know her position on Brexit, for instance. And yet Brexit was very divisive in there. She has been very, in the Cold War, she was leader during the Cold War. She was leader when the Cold War situation changed. The breakup of the Soviet Union. She was leader during the time the British Empire was being challenged. Many of these countries, I think she became queen when only 2 countries had got independence.
Yeah,
many of the other territories
1952
pushed for independence during the reign. And then the push for the others, the other 16 that have still been under British jurisdiction, under the monarchical jurisdiction. Even when it is titular, Australia, New Zealand, they are pushing for republicanism. She was there during apartheid and the fall of apartheid. During the Palestinian,
Yes.
So
the birth of Israel.
Let's see how really, I think we must evaluate her much more
Don't
fairly.
you think that is the genuine reason why these people are castigating her for not doing enough and presiding over an institution that has power but did not reign on all those events you've talked about adequately, probably?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, that the people who have the privilege of hindsight have the luxury to be harsh.
Okay.
I think it was Nelson Mandela who said after he came into power and they were criticizing him for having been in cahoots with the apartheid people, or with de Klerk. He was being accused. He said, yeah, you see, when you are outside the position of responsibility, you have the luxury to be a rebel. When you are the one, you can't rebel against yourself. But you must handle the rebels in your realm. So for me, I think when we put it on the balance of things, she has performed very well.
Wow.
Yes. There were things she probably could have done better. There were things that she did not do. But I think she did very well overall.
Do you think the EFF leadership and Julius Malema have a reason in saying she did not do enough to overturn that brutal past and the involvement of Britain in the brutal history of South Africa?
No, you see, I have been very, very careful to debate basing on the positions of Julius Malema.
Why?
I think he's extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's extreme, and I think his extremism works for him because he lives and he's a product of extreme conditions. Apartheid is extreme, was extreme. The conditions in South Africa are extreme. So if you are going to be a darling to reach out to the people in the Sowetos and the town, the extremism works. I would be, and I tell you, Apollo, I would be intrigued to see Julius Malema in power.
Yeah.
I doubt that he would do even 30% of the
What
things he
he
professes to do. I highly doubt. He's a very clever and adaptive politician.
Yeah.
Who knows that he will gain his leverage by being extreme in the manner that he is. And when
But he represents the voices of the
people,
minority.
of some people.
And we know with the nature of the society in South Africa is different from anywhere else, because there is a sharp division, the sharp line between the haves and have-nots. And
that's why I'm being careful not to use him and his standpoint as a universal
liberator.
No, that is moderator. That his positions or his standpoint would be a moderator for my analysis. I think I would say, no, this is a little on the extreme. I want a more moderated position that then I can use as for my analysis. So that's why I'm careful not to use Julius Malema as a standpoint. His standpoints, even on South African things, I think have been on the extreme side. And that works in his favor, in the position, in the world. But when we talk about Queen Elizabeth, we are talking about a global assessment. Yes, we are talking about a person who inherited, first and foremost, and inherited very rigid, by the way, very rigid things. You don't just move them. You try to move them, they will move you.
Yeah, the foundation had been set already by her predecessor.
And then in my view, we also overrate the power. How much political power does the Queen have really in the UK, if you think about it? The power is in the hands of the Prime Minister.
She even appoints the PM.
She does not appoint. The Queen does not appoint. The Queen cannot say, don't put Johnson. When the people choose, they have chosen. She cannot go and say, don't choose that one.
That's true.
No. So the titular, and we have to be very careful about titular leaders. They don't have that much executive power. They have own influence and resources and what. That's why, for example, our president was talking about the role she played in reconciling us, our president, President Moi. Yeah. But also, how did she do it? It was creatively placing them in the same space during this dinner.
On the dinner table.
But she couldn't knock heads and say, you must come. No. Even then, she could have invited and they don't go.
Okay.
She doesn't have the powers to compel them to come. So we have to also, I think, in my view, evaluate within that context. And so while there are things she may have been assertive about more, probably, I think for somebody to cruise 7 decades of controversial and challenging circumstances and emerge with the profile and respect and that she has had, I think for me, on the balance of probabilities, she has done a lot better than not.
Thank you so much, Richard Baguma, for that insight. And Doctor, we are talking about head of an institution, 70 years reign. They say she during her reign, a lot happened. A lot happened, and actually we have been ridiculed with the supporters of Arsenal, that he has seen everything, but he has not lift the Champions League. I don't know what you think about her
I happen
legacy.
to be a fan of Arsenal.
I'm surrounded.
First, let me go to the comment by Malema. As we know, Queen Elizabeth did not introduce colonialism.
Yeah.
She found when the empire had overexpanded by her predecessors. So, but then she ascends to the throne at the time when the World War, World War was just ending. One. And you can see there was Great Depression, and then the society was divided. But for me, I credit her for taking a middle point. You know, if you read the history of the UK, you see like King Charles, for instance, the first and King Charles the second. These people were radicals, actually, who at some point, like King Charles the first, dissolved the parliament and ruled without parliament for some time. He divided the society, and there was a rebellion. Parliament fighting the monarch. They were all armed. People lost lives until he was arrested and executed. That's the only king in the history of the UK who was executed by his own people. Now, when his son also inherited, he was also controversial. He ended up fleeing to exile and then renegotiate his return. So the time Queen Elizabeth took over, you have economic depression, you have the agitation for independence, you know, in India, in Africa, and wherever in the Caribbean. This was a challenging time. But by mere fact that she was able to navigate it, and then these countries has to go without the crumbling of the kingdom, I credit her for that. Similar to what he said, the titular heads, and I can say she somehow neutralized the monarch. So that let me leave the politics to the politicians, and then I remain the queen for everyone. This has shielded the monarch from the controversies, especially, you know, issues that emerged in Cold War, recent Brexit, and so many others. She kept that respect from all sides, whether from Liberal Democrats, from Conservatives, from Labour Party. You know, they all viewed her as a person who does not interfere. And that's why he told you that the real power, the real politics is played by the elected leaders. Now, on the issues regarding her brutality in South Africa.
Yeah, they say she sanctioned the plunder of South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Zambia.
But there's no evidence that there was she sanctioned.
Actually, there's a social media message that has been flying around that she still holds that biggest diamond that was stolen from South Africa.
But we also know that the history of UK and South Africa dates far back, than her raid. So it's true there was a plunder, but part of the approaches of every European nation, you know, most of the European countries are actually ethnic groups. They are kingdoms, you know, they are kingdoms, and their approach to accumulating wealth was almost the same, only that others went to different continents, different countries and things like that. But at the end of the day, if decolonization went, and we also must credit that actually apartheid ended during her reign.
Yeah, her era.
Her era. I know the South Africans fought for it, but we can say that if they wanted to continue causing turmoil and plundering, they would have.
Yeah, even the British stance on colonialism, Churchill, those negotiations between Churchill and Roosevelt, I think brought many things and to the end.
There was there were issues, movement on the movement on decolonization, even on human rights.
The British colonies
it no longer became fashionable.
Yeah, even the British colonies did not suffer the brunt of colonialism like like the Portuguese or German colonies. Or
actually, I can assure you that we were colonized and we complain. But you go to these French colonies, to the Portuguese, you will see.
Yeah,
they have
Belgium.
continued to interfere and disturb those countries up to now. But look at ours. In Uganda, if anything goes wrong, much of it is self-destruction actually. Because we sometimes it's ourselves who move like headless chicken, having a lack of a sense of direction as citizens ourselves. But in terms of interference with former colonies, she had, under her leadership, they had pulled out. Of course, we cannot forget what happened when we were involved directly in fighting apartheid under the Obote I regime, which led eventually to a coup. Of course, we have that sad history, but all connected to South Africa. But in terms of interference, I think the Queen had the temptation of misusing power, but she has kept it with integrity, and I credit her for that.
Good.
And even when you talk about racism, I read an interview of the grandson, you know, the grandson Harry.
Yeah, Prince Harry.
Who has been on the run for again marrying an American.
Meghan Markle.
I don't know what happens to American women. It looks like the monarchs in the UK who get American women get crazy. So he said, you know, the wife has black blood in her, and she was complaining about how royals were treating the child, but they were very fast to say, but our grandmother, the Queen, was not part of it. But there are people who are mentioned as being highly racist, of course, including the new king, but we are yet to judge when we see him in the office.
There are some who think that probably after her death, Harry and Marco may face it rough, and they may actually have to break again away from the family. Anyway, we can let me ask a question, and it's the same question I'll ask Richard. There are some people who think that Uganda was well off under colonialism. It is popping up. That debate is also popping up this time, and that undermines the contribution of the pro-colonialist Uganda, the leadership.
Of course, that is debatable. In terms of the organization of society, I think society was a bit well organized in terms of the city, planning, you know, the development approaches. You do see that even the post-independence, post-colonialism leaders, the country was kind of organized. Now, we got power, we are happy, we are controlling our own affairs, but I can see a lot of indiscipline in our society. We are seeing the way we manage, the way we handle projects, the way we ride in the city, the mess. You know, our cities are not safe at all. Let me tell you, if you go to these countries in like Zambia, Zimbabwe, and then you drive on their streets, even Zimbabwe with all the problems it has been having under Robert Mugabe, you find that on the road, the city, people are organized. I don't know what happened to us. Managing our affairs is good, but we just need to reflect and say, where are we going? Where are we going? Would we need to move in this confusion? Whatever we see, we are stealing. I was giving a simple example. I grew up in Tororo, and we had Lions Children's Park. It had a lot of everything you wanted for a kid to play. So you would go stay there, you don't eat lunch and play the whole day. You know, swinging, rolling, doing what, sliding. I went back, people have stolen everything.
Really?
There's nothing. And then at the end, the guarantors of the Lions Club of Tororo had even connived to sell the park itself when other members are not aware. So the indiscipline in our society is something that we really need to address.
So as we blame the colonialists and their legacy, we should
of course partly
also
they wanted to plunder. You would see the railway going to where?
To where there are
minerals. And then you cannot trust that a hyena will keep for you all the goats. Some of it would be used here, but the other would be taken. But then now that we are ourselves, Ugandans ourselves, still there are reports of people who want to go and build abroad, still here, then go and build abroad instead of developing their own country.
Okay. Richard, what do you think about that narrative that possibly the time we spent 70 years under colonialism was better off than we have been today under this post-independence leadership or leaders?
I was on another television program yesterday, and one of the panelists, my friend, brought it up. But of course, in my view, he was arguing from a political angle, because then he kept talking about the 40 years, 40 years. Then the person, the one who was moderating, reminded him that he said, our independence is longer than 40 years. You see, when we are discussing questions of if they are, we are now, supposing, it's suppositions. So we would be better, for me, I just look at what I think is the larger picture. That when we got independence, we were able to contribute to the struggle against apartheid.
Yeah.
And you just said that actually one of the reasons that we got a leader whom we had not elected for ourselves, who came through a military coup, was because the British did not give a hoot, or whatever the other, about how we are governed and what happens to us. They didn't care. For them was to stop us from contributing to the fight against apartheid. How could those ones have our interests at heart? How could they be better leaders, for God's sake, for us? I think for me, that debate can continue.
But you can look back at the foundation they had set.
Yeah,
they had built. They had gifted us with the Mulago Hospital.
Where?
They had helped us have Owen Falls Dam.
They didn't help us. You see,
But we also know that
They had set up a foundation of education.
yeah, but
somehow
but they were educating you to do
the
what?
economy.
They were educating you to be what? To
Okay.
do what? We are still struggling up to today with the foundation of the very misguided British introduced education. Up to today, we are still struggling with it. How can training clerks? We are all clerks. Very important men. I don't know PhD in what clerks. We can't use our hands to go do anything. So you see, and we keep justifying. I think the British introduced education. We are still struggling with the very negative. We have mismanaged a lot of the things. But even if we had kept that education system, no. But also we usually don't stop to assess what did they interfere with. What was the trajectory of our societies, of our communities, of our, what was it that they interfered with? That probably after 70 plus 60 years, after 130 years, our trajectory would have been very different. Weren't we forming states ourselves? Even when we were fighting, how did they form their states? How did Europe form states? By killing each other. By revolutions. How did America become the United States? It was through war. And so to come and say we would have been better with them, I don't buy into that narrative.
Okay. Thank you so much, viewers. I can now see some messages are already coming in. Mr. Paul, thanks for the show. With those great panelists, Baguma and Doctor, we really appreciate the calm daily dialogue. And we thank the Queen for she has done more good than harm. And I am Muchungu's Godwin from Isingiro, watching you live from the state of Qatar, Doha. Thank you so much, Muchungu's Godwin, and I implore other viewers out there, now you can send in your messages through WhatsApp and short messages. Send to 0701 609906. That is only for messages. Send in your comment or contribution to the discussion that is going on in the studios with Richard Baguma, is a communication specialist. We have Dr. Werihe Wanzara. He is the head of research and civic engagement at Africa Leadership Institute, and looking at the legacy of the Queen, who passed on Thursday, and her death has triggered conflicting responses from different people. And Kenya declared 3 days of mourning, and some people think that the Kenyans suffered the wrath under you know, the Mau Mau rebellion and all that, but looks like Kenya is taking a different path, a path of reconciliation, a path of forgetting the past and moving on. We have in the introductory statements talked about the Supreme Court ruling. You see, Kenya is taking another direction, and looks like it is going to end. I mean, it is going to end in a good way. Yesterday I saw Uhuru Kenyatta. He was the army was bidding farewell to their commander-in-chief, and he said he implored the military to support the incoming administration. Even during this week, he spoke to Ruto, and he said he's willingly going to hand over with a smile. You can't believe it, and make a comment as we move on.
I congratulate the people of Kenya, and like you are saying, they are setting the pace in a number of ways. One, tourism, of course, and I believe that even one of the reasons they declare 3 days of national mourning, it is a PR strategy,
really?
To identify with a large global community.
No, but so, even when Magufuli died,
yes,
he also declared days of mourning, and several other leaders.
That is the PR I'm talking about. To try to associate, to look like you're associating with others, and of course, aren't you discussing them because of that? Yeah, that is a communication strategy. He will tell you that. He will tell you that. Yesterday, I was reading an article where Donald Trump sued the former Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, about interfering with his campaign. But the case was dismissed yesterday. You know what? But his strategy is to stay in the media, publicity, as he looks to the next contest. So Kenya as a country wants to keep itself, out there in the communication world and say Kenya has done this, Kenya has done this. But on the issue of the politics, of course, I will congratulate President Uhuru.
Really?
Many people will say that Azimio lost and therefore he lost. But for him, as a president who has served his 2 terms and is, preparing, so he started this process months back, of saying farewell to the staff of State House, and then he's willing to hand over the power peacefully. Even he had the capacity probably to interfere with Ruto's campaign, but he stayed away from abusing that process and left the democratic process take place. Of course, financially, he supported the Azimio leader, the Azimio camp. But he had ability even to deploy and do all horrible things, but he did not do this. So, and then last week we were here discussing the trust in the justice system.
Yeah.
You can see no witness was arrested. No people are being looked for because of swearing affidavits in support of the petition. And even when the arguments went on, the atmosphere in court, all sides were able to present the arguments, of course, until you saw the holes were punched in the petitioner's side. But all the same, I congratulate Kenya and, of course, President Uhuru for what they have showed us, and then the Azimio leader accepting and saying, well, I agree with what, I don't agree with the ruling, but in the interest of the peace, my people don't fight, let's forge a way forward. Because they trust their institutions.
Hasn't this really confirmed that really Kenya is is ahead, is moving ahead of us and everyone, and possibly.
It is moving ahead, and I can assure you, Apollo, if we don't revisit recommendations of the Supreme Court of the 2016 petition of Amama Mbabazi, you know, to improve our electoral processes, we are wasting time.
Really?
If we don't detach the army, the security forces from elections in Uganda, we are wasting time. If we don't detach the judiciary from the politics and they do their work, we are wasting time. And this situation we are creating is not going to help anyone. At a certain point, if it explodes, it will not know whether you are NRM or whether you are opposition.
All right. Thank you so much. Richard, briefly, we have moved quickly from Britain and what is happening, and a comment on what is happening across the border. Looks like all is set. What we thought that maybe could end in tears, it is ending in joy.
Because there are also people who are crying. I think we would be dishonest if we said it has all ended in joy. I think there are those who are still wiping tears.
Across the border?
Yeah.
Maybe because they lost an election.
Yeah. So there are some those who are teary. What is...
When I wipe Alina, I see him beginning to walk left, right.
Yeah, but you see, I want to comment particularly on that. The ability, the fluidity, the ability of the leaders in the different shades in Kenya to move across floors, to move across borders and go to the other one and work together. I do not see, personally, I do not see any problem with that. In fact, if, for example, the President Ruto appointed Kalonzo Musyoka to a position of responsibility in cabinet or elsewhere, I think that would be good.
Really?
Yes. The speculation.
Yeah.
But he made it very clear in his victory speech. He said, I want a vibrant opposition. I mean, it looks like he was dispelling a suspicion that he may also go into a handshake.
Yeah, but look, if you say that you want a vibrant opposition, and you make sure they don't get anywhere near a Senate or
near power
or power speaker, not even deputy speaker, you push. I also have to start seeing you from what you say and from what you do. And I think the appointment of cabinet and other appointments will tell us where the actual
list is already out.
Like we always say, the politicians know that the cabinet list or any other appointments list, until it is signed off and legally put out, it can still change and be intercepted. So the joy across the border is that things have ended without banning. That this smoothness and no death, loss of life or destruction of property. So I think that is a general joy. I think they can consolidate it by reaching across the sides.
Okay.
I think it's important. The stated lack of belief in shaking hands. If you don't shake hands, okay, maybe he doesn't shake hands, but he does hugs.
Okay.
Which I think are even bigger than because I've seen him hugging Kalonzo. I think it was yesterday. So if you go beyond the handshake and you hug, for me, I think I am comfortable.
And declaring 3 days of mourning, Dr. thinks that's just PR.
Well, yes, I think that the declaring 3 days of mourning. First of all, this practice has been there in Kenya. With foreign leaders, they are, I think they behave differently from us. I think President Magufuli was a friend, but we didn't do the mourning as they did publicly. In Kenya, they did a lot more mourning. So I think it's a different way we approach these things. But also, we must agree that even when the queen became queen, she was in Kenya. So I think she has a long and closer relationship
with Britain and
with
the British
but
monarchy.
Also, the Kenyan political relationships with the British political relationship have been much stronger. You see the things that they have done, even when there were a bit of quarrels with when Moi was president. But with the forces, with the military, with the intelligence cooperation, it has been very, very strong.
Okay.
We also have a bigger, more vibrant, but also wealthier British population in Kenya. Than we have here. If you look at the British businesses that are in Kenya, the big ones, they are still present over the years. So I think the ties are much stronger.
Much stronger.
But why not take advantage of this and also do PR? Because compare the number of tourists who visit Kenya from the UK and here. So the situation is all different.
It is different. And this is The Dialogue. My name is Simapolo, and we have been joined by Honorable Barnabas Tinkasimire, the Member of Parliament for Buyaga West, and he's a resident panelist here. We are going for a break, but I'll ask him
to talk about the tiff that we talked about earlier between the parliament.
We only have 3 minutes. We only have actually...
I'll be able to hear from him about the nyege nyege.
we only have
may not really have a serious comment on it.
But Honorable, we have 3 minutes. Please round up. I will bring you back in the second segment.
To our viewers, maybe I make a quick contribution on what you have just spoken about, the passing on of the Queen.
Yeah, it is our discussion actually. You'll have time to explore it.
Okay.
Just say hi to our viewers.
To our viewers, we are back, and good morning. Nyege nyege should not be serious matter to look at. For me, I look at it as a society of those who belong to the permissive society.
But it has brought trouble to Parliament. Now the Speaker is clashing with the Prime Minister. The Speaker is now talking about...
The clash has
Speaker is
been
talking
there.
about individuals who are actually...
the clash has been there. I have not talked to the Right Honourable Speaker, but at least I know that she has had a standing outburst with the Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Really?
So I would not be surprised that the Prime Minister got another opportunity to disagree with her.
It's an opportunity.
in public, and we insisted that nyege nyege should go on, and nyege nyege is full of also of such type of people. Then
do UMPs flock and go to nyege nyege?
No, I can't go to such a permissive society to do what? If I can't go to a bar, why would I go to nyege nyege?
Really?
To do what?
Okay, we have to go for a break, but that pronouncement that some individuals are out to assassinate the Speaker was not so simple.
Well, I called her when I saw that clip, and she confirmed that some people are threatening her life. I am yet to meet her physically, such that we can, I can get the first-hand information. Maybe by God's grace, I should be able to get even the names. For me, I am known that when I even get the names, I will expose them. For me, I am not going to talk like her. I'm not a diplomat. We are not about to see a killing of a very prominent person through just flimsy things like that. I will even actually confront the person. She would say,
okay.
I will ask that person, why do you want to kill the Speaker?
All right, viewers, this is The Dialogue. We go for a break, and when we return, the issue is the legacy of the fallen leader of the British monarchy, and we are also going to look at our approach to environment as disasters are happening almost across the country. In Imbale, in Rwenzori sub-region, Kasese, we have to do something. Let's go for a break. We'll return after a short break.
Soul Television, Femunyo.
John loves football on GoTV, so he traded being a best man for being a best fan. Miriam stood her date up just for this matchup. Albert and his family had plans, but they couldn't miss this, and neither can you. Because this new football season, this is football worth watching. Get a GoTV decoder and 1 month of GoTV Max for only 89,000 shillings to get all the football action. GoTV. Live it, love it.
Vimba ne MTN Kabodi Super esimu ya sereza nga bw'ogisasulira mpola kuba amasimu kyusa zi status za WhatsApp laba bu video ku YouTube oba kozesa Google okumanya buli ekiri wansi w'enjuba ku GB 2 ze tukuweza buli mwezi okumala emyezi 7 sasulako emitwalo 99 zokka ezisigadde osasule mpola kati okola ki leero genda ku dduuka lya MTN erikuli okumpi weefunire MTN Kabodi Super mangu
Cultural Agency Limited kati basenguse ne bagenda maka gaabwe emanyangwa Gayaza Road mu maaso ga Mark Oils Fuel Station mita 3 okuva ku Main Road bazze okujuna gwayagala omulimu mu nsi z'ebweru nga Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Poland, USA, Canada kugatta n'emirimu wano ewaffe balina emirimu gy'aba cleaners, security, waiters, ba waitresses, airport cargo handlers, ba maids, ba driver balina emirimu emirala e Poland mu Poland Meat Packers mwe ba cleaners, ba waitress ne bawaita nga mwagala ogenda mu Buwarabu musasula milioni 2.5 zokka balansi ne musasula nga mmaze okutuukayo gwali mu Uganda ng'onoonya mulimu aba Cultural Agency Limited bajja kukufunira basangibwa mu maka gaabwe amajja Manyangwa Gayaza Road mu maaso ga Mark Oil Fuel Station mita 3 okuva ku Main Road oba bafune ku ssimu 0784 oba 0704
Kampala was the genesis, taking over the city and the outskirts on 107. Now covering the whole nation and beyond. Bududa, Palisa, Budadiri, Budaka, Mbale, Sironko, Busia, Tororo, Bukedea, Butaleja, Chibuga, Chankwanzi, Mitiana, Mubende, Chiwale, Chinjojo, Chegegwa, Chinuhura, Sembabule, Raka, Gomba, Yantunde, Masaka, Kalungu, Luengo, Utambala, Bukomansimbi, Kagadi, Mbarara, Chinja, Bunyangabu, Toroko, Bundibujo, Kasese, Kamwenge, Chitagwenda, Burahia, Rengoma, Karambi, Mukusu. Anywhere in Uganda, Soul FM got you covered. 107 Kampala, 97.5 Mubende, 102.6 Mbale, 95 Mbarara, 98.2 Jinja, 90.3 Fort Poto. Advertise with us and make your business known to every Ugandan and the rest of the world. Soul Television, a TV station with no parental guidance. Catch us on DSTV, channel 373, Azam TV, channel 359, Zuku TV, channel 052, Go TV, channel 391, StarTimes Antenna, channel 288, StarTimes Dish, channel 187, Free to Air, channel 005, Soul Television, Femunyo. Soul Television, Femunyo.
Welcome from the break. This is the dialogue. My name is Prince Apollo, and in the studios we have Honorable Barnabas Tinkasimire, Member of Parliament for Buyaga West constituency. We have Richard Baguma Tinkasimire. He is a communication specialist, and we have Dr. Gerard Werihe Wanzara. He is the head of research and civic engagement at Africa Leadership Institute. And we are briefly now concluding the legacy of Queen Elizabeth II, the head of the British monarchy, who died on Thursday at the age of 96. And we are also looking at the conflicting, the mixed feelings and tributes that are coming in from different countries, different leaders, the EFF, Economic freedom fighters of South Africa, opposition, are saying she reminds them of the brutal legacy of colonialism, and she also serves as the reminder of a very tragic period South Africa went through. They also accuse her of benefiting from the wealth attained from plunder of countries like South Africa, Zambia, and Zimbabwe, while other countries like Kenya and other countries are also mourning the death of a leader who presided over an institution that helped nations grow, that helped, of course, build bridges in this world. Honorable Barnabas, please make your contribution on what you think of Queen Elizabeth's legacy in a few minutes.
To our viewers, in the circumstances when someone has died, in African setting, people are inclined to speak only good things about that person. Indeed, when you look at qualitatively what she has done, what the British has presided over, and she has been at the head.
She's the head of the Commonwealth.
You would say, yeah, she's made a very big contribution. One, made sure that their economy is stable and very, very strong. Although the pound sometimes goes down, I have not seen it go below 4,500 in terms of value. Their level of education, the quality of education, has never been compromised. The British citizens have had the best education in the world. Of course, Africans have also had the opportunity to go and study in these places. They return when they are not the same. We also, today, when we look at the actual British system, education system, that we are trying to have here, of course, the type of education that they gave us, some neo, we call the people who belong to the school that blame the underdevelopment of Africa on the invasion of the white man. They will say they crafted an education system that was not going to help.
That benefits them.
Yeah, that benefits them, not us. But at the end of the day, you can see that these people literally went away. We remained here. It is a choice of the leaders.
But their influence remains.
Even then,
Commonwealth
it is the choice of the leaders. It is the choice of the leaders. Robert Mugabe in Zimbabwe decided to chase them and get the land back to its citizens, to the citizens of Zimbabwe. For me, that's why I say the leaders is our choice. We choose to carry on drumming up the colonial legacy, the neo-colonial legacy. We should stop blaming now the white person. The white person. For me, the area where I represent Bunyoro, the relation, when you talk about British, when you talk about the Queen and her death, yes, the world is celebrating, but Bunyoro is reminded.
Bunyoro suffered.
Is reminded of a terrible time when the British were here as colonialists. The population by then of Bunyoro was relatively towards 3 million people. That population was reduced to just 500,000 people. All the rest were killed. They did not only kill the human beings, they destroyed also the economy of Bunyoro. That's why it will take centuries to have a serious Bunyoro, self-made from the ground, becoming a very rich person.
Under her reign, did they make advances to or efforts to reconcile with Bunyoro?
The Bunyoro, I think there is a group of Banyoro who made an effort through the president, and some money was sent, particularly for Bunyoro sub-region. But I think the executive decided to put it in the national budget, and of course it went to other parts of the country, because largely it was reparation, and that reparation has never happened in Bunyoro. We still have the absentee landlords live and kicking in Bunyoro with so many land titles. Of course, we still have in Bunyoro, that's where we have the biggest chunk of land gazetted as national parks. People were killed, and after they have killed them, they look for a small forest reserve which was around those empty places. They gazette it as a national park. That's why you will have Bugoma, you will have Budongo, you will have so many forest reserves in Bunyoro, in the Bunyoro sub-region. Leaving the Bunyoro literally with this thin arable land for them to earn a living.
So you have a reason to castigate, her contribution to during her
because
reign.
she has died, we will not celebrate. Because when you celebrate when somebody has died, they will say you are a witch.
Yeah.
You are a witch. We will not celebrate. But as Banyoro, I want to state, we are not happy about the reign of the Queen. Of course, for me as an individual, they conscripted my father into the Second World War. Whereas he came back with new ideas about the world. He wasted a lot of time when he participated in the Second World War. All that period of 10 years, he would have done something critical for himself and for his family.
Honorable, let me tell our viewers that we'll be crossing right away to Rwenzori sub-region, but in just one statement, there is that narrative now that is coming up, that possibly Uganda, generally, in terms of social services, in terms of service delivered and what, that it was better off during the colonial period than it is today. Just one comment and I cross over to the Rwenzoris.
Because of I think the size of the population by then was small.
It was manageable,
and it was easier to deliver services to them. But I think the roads, the communication was not as good by then as it is today. But given that those days you would access a service without paying. It was really free. You would go to a hospital and be attended to immediately. You would go to school and study. Unlike today, where every service is presumed to be free and you have to pay for it. You go to a hospital without money, even if it is Mulago, you will not be treated. Even when they have arrested a number of people, saying these ones were arrested, them they were charging patients. That thing will never stop. In all government hospitals, you will go without money, you will not be treated. You will return home. That's why you will go to schools. UPE schools, USE schools, they cannot do well because even when the teachers are paid much better than in the private schools. Good. They will still do. In our language, we say.
So you think we have not managed our affairs very well?
In my own opinion, as a country, maybe under the leadership, because for me, this happens when the leadership is seeing.
All right. Thank you so much, our viewers. And at this point, I request that now we cross over to the Rwenzori region. We have talked about matters of disasters happening almost across this country. In Mbale, people died. Now we are talking about Kasese. In Karamoja, people are dying, died of hunger. And this is all about the environment. And that is our next topic for discussion, looking at the environmental policy in Uganda and how we have managed nature in this country, because it looks like nature is now fighting back. Let me, Godfrey Tumwebaze, tell us exactly. We've been told that the two ministers are in that region, Honorable Chris Bariomunsi, Honorable Godfrey Kabyanga, they're in charge of ICT and national guidance. Tell us what is happening right now.
Okay, thank you so much to see me, Apollo, and I'm so happy to join you on the dialogue. Like you've said, like we've been updating you about what is happening in Kasese when it comes to disasters. I'm so lucky to have one of the ministers, like the two you've said, but right here with me, I have Honorable Godfrey Kabyanga, and of course he's going to brief us and tell us how far they have reached in compensating the victims, the people who lost their lives in Kasese and their families. Honorable, we are so lucky we are live on Soul TV, and briefly I request you to greet our viewers and you tell the public how far you have reached.
Thank you very much, Soul TV, and good morning all viewers and listeners of this wonderful TV. It's true, we received the disaster at the beginning of the week in a place called Kasika in Rukoki sub-county in Bukonzo County South. Yes. It is just about 15 kilometers from Kasese municipality. The sub-county borders Kasese municipality. There was a huge mudslide. It was not even a landslide as such, but it was a mudslide which claimed the lives, which claimed around 16 lives, and 7 were badly injured. Some of them are still in hospital, but it also destroyed a lot of properties. There are some families which perished completely because it came at around 2 a.m. People were deeply asleep, and there are families where the husband, the wife, and all children were perished in that mudslide. But the whole of Rwenzori region is always having such disasters. First of all, we are prone to earthquakes, mudslides, landslides, and floods, all of them in the Rwenzori region. But this disaster was one that claimed a large number of people at a go, and we all sympathize with the families. We send our condolences, and we have tried now to get the people off that place because we still see some risk. Some of them are camped at Chigoro Primary School, but the 16 have now been buried, and today we are taking the condolence message from the president. He has sent a team of ministers. We have Honorable Chris Bariomunsi, we have Honorable Togabye, Minister of State for KCCA, and myself, Kabyanga Godfrey Baruku, Minister of State for ICT and National Guidance. And we also have a team from Prime Minister's office. The President has sent 5 million shillings per person dead, not per family, because there are families which lost 3 people, 4 people. So we shall give 5 million shillings per person who died. And then we are also going to give a contribution of 1 million shillings to assist those who are in hospital. It was a very big disaster, and the president consoles them and sends his condolences to the families. But I will not call it compensation. There is no way you can compensate life. This is Mabugo, condolence message. But what we can now advise our people is to get off those dangerous places. Because even today, stormwater has claimed another person in Chanyamaliba. Yeah. Stormwater alone has claimed. But some of these disasters, and mainly floods, landslides, and mudslides, some of them are accelerated by human activity. Obviously, there are climate change, so many climate change effects, and these are some of the results. But some of them are accelerated by human activities, like where the mudslide occurred. People have cleared all the trees on the mountains because the Rwenzori was covered by forest. The forest has been cleared, and then the farming methods are not catering for terracing. So the soils have continued becoming loose and loose, and therefore any slight rain, it loosens the whole the mountain, and either it can cause a mudslide or a landslide.
So, Honorable, do you have any plan of relocating those people, especially in Kasika village?
Yes, the president has already directed. He has talked of a gradient. I have forgotten the degrees. All people who are at that gradient have been advised to get off. And obviously, government is looking for land where to put them. Those ones who were affected by the floods, land has already been bought in Moja area where their camp is. And we are waiting now to subdivide it so that everybody is given their plots. Okay. So even those ones, we are going to look for a way of relocating them.
Okay, as we wind up, Honorable, your last message, since it's rainy season, of course you hear the flood, that the disasters are happening in almost every region in the country. What is your special message that goes to Ugandans, especially those who live in?
My special message is, let people leave the water catchment areas, mainly the river catchment areas. Let them leave them. The floods that are going to happen. 2, let them leave the steep areas, because any landslide or mudslide can happen any time. And let them leave the channels to avoid storm water for the time being. But meanwhile, we are also trying to encourage people to plant trees. That's why at the Rwenzori Marathon, we promised to plant 6 million trees in 1 year. And we are going to achieve this.
Okay, thank you so much. We are so glad, and thank you for giving us time, Honorable. That was Honorable Godfrey Kabyanga, the State Minister for National Guidance and ICT, and we are so glad that he accepted to give us time. Let me take you back to the dialogue. Over to you, Apollo. My name is Godfrey Tumwebaze.
Thank you, Godfrey, and your namesake, Godfrey Kabyanga Baluku, my friend there, the State Minister for National Guidance. We have discussed this issue several times. I don't know where to start. And Richard, you have the opportunity now to talk about our policy towards the environment. It is now in Kasese, but it could happen anywhere else. He's talking about the loose soil, and we know these areas that are prone to the hotspots for mudslides or landslides. Bulambuli, Sironko, Mbale area, all those districts are at risk. Should we every time only come to speak about this thing when lives have been lost? Now 16 Ugandans lost their lives.
I'm tempted first to bet with the Honourable Minister, Kabyanga.
Bet?
Bet. And I would be happy if you can moderate the bet with this journalist. That in 1 year, we shall not plant 6 million trees in the region, in that region.
Okay.
No.
The plan
he has said
is
we
there?
are going to plant, and he has asserted. I want to bet with him that we are not going to plant the 6 million trees in that region.
Why are you so confident about it?
Because I have lived in this country for more than half a century.
Okay.
Yeah. And I have observed things happened. And I have heard ministers who speak. I have recorded them. I have, when I was an active journalist, you know, I have many recordings. That one is not going to happen. 6 million trees in 1 year. By the Ugandan government, led by the NRM people, my friends, my colleagues. that we are not going to happen. No. And Honorable, my namesake is here. Those are your friends. You can moderate this debate. We had a debate.
You don't need it to do. You don't need it to debate.
Why are we not serious about
it? The truth is that he's only speaking for the gallery, and we should dismiss him. We should dismiss his talk with the contempt it deserves. We know this for sure. This regime is known for environmental destruction, not for environmental protection.
We have been here.
I was last week. I was in Changwari. I have here a picture of a tree which in the land which actually a Muindi was given. Hoima Sugar was given land in the forest. Given, first of all, it is against the laws of the land to issue a land title in a gazetted forest. He has a freehold title for 99 years.
On a gazetted government forest? Public
yes.
Forest. Public land.
He was given 20.
How many square miles?
22 square miles of land. 22 square miles of land.
Those are almost 3 sub-counties.
Yeah, 22 square miles of land. I happen to be in that place to my colleagues. Of course, he's using these bulldozers. The bulldozers, you can see them. The ones which are clearing.
Can you name him? Do you know his name?
Oh, this is the Hoima Sugar.
The company name is
check the size of a tree. A tree which has lasted.
That is for very many years, 50 years.
This is more than 50 years. You can't have a tree. This must, in a natural forest, this must not be less than 200 years. Really? This tree. You are felling a tree because there is no power saw in this country that can cut this tree. That's why they fell it with the caterpillar and nobody has touched it. It fell down to clear, such that when the newsmen come, they say it is just a bush, it is not a forest. But these are the type of trees this regime is destroying. And then he tells the world, what trees are you going to plant? You are destroying a tree of 200 years.
But Honorable, cutting it down is not a problem. But planting new other trees.
In USA,
you don't plant.
In USA, to cut a tree, you need a tree which you have planted. You need permission from the authority.
Okay. It's not only the USA.
No. It used to be a practice, by the way.
Two, even when they give you permission, you get somebody who is experienced to examine, is this tree going to be cut, and how are we going to cut it? Three, when they cut it, you don't take a firewood. The wood lot is removed and taken to a factory to be used for national use. Make timber for schools. For schools. Make timber for hospitals. You are not going to plant a tree and run quickly to bring these men of Hiriaya to cut it. No. This thing of the minister declaring.
You think it is
it the first time during the regime of President Museveni for Kasete to experience problems like this?
Okay.
We talked about it here, didn't we?
He is declared. I heard him declare that the president at a certain degree,
certain gradient,
he has ordered that those people should be removed, and we are demarcating whether he should go. When did these people go there? They have been there with this regime. He is talking like this. In 2025, 26, they will be talking another language. Because when you remove people from their respective homes, you bring them down, they will be suffering. Then they will start going there to cultivate. And finally, when they go to cultivate, it's very difficult for them to move from up, then come down, then go up. So they decided to stay there. During election time, that battle will be lost. Where did Bududa end?
Richard.
You see, yes. It is not because of a shortage of policies. You started with policy. It is not because we have a shortage of policies. The Constitution is very, very clear. Very clear. The environment is provided for in the Constitution. An entire article. And it commands government that are to do this. I don't know, we have not less than 15 pieces of legislation about the swamps, the forests, biodiversity, water, the amount of land you should leave by the rivers. I mean, we don't have a shortage. In fact, I think we have a bloated set of legislations. We have a bloated legislative environment when it comes to environment, when it comes to this. That's one.
What is lacking?
It is just us lacking the
seriousness.
No, seriousness is an understatement. We lack the morality to stop our pillage, to stop our stealing. It is our failure to stop ourselves from our greed. That really is what is lacking. We lack the ability to stop ourselves, to stop our greed.
Okay.
That's what we lack.
Namesake. What I found also intriguing is that as the Muindi is destroying this natural forest, he's being guarded by UPDF soldiers.
Okay.
UPDF soldiers. I actually, even on the same land, they have put some detached. I interacted with them. I said, are you aware that this is a natural forest? Where you are guarding,
actually, you
need to destroy the environment. Then they start going, issuing orders. I wish Ugandans would one day rebel openly, and tell the president, stop duping us. Because you will not go to the podium and say, I have ordered all people off the wetlands. You are destroying 22 square miles of a natural forest. 22 square miles.
You talked about Bugoma, and Bugoma has been in the news for over how many years? Petitions have been filed.
And the evidence that is coming from behind is that it is not the Muindi. The Muindi is just a front. The Muindi is just a front.
So they are big
so
people.
Where some people have to benefit, you get me? The big shots, the people who run this country, the issue of the environment will go to hell. And we are talking about Kasese because of the few Basongora, the few Bakonzo who have died. Does Museveni even get concerned when people die? He went to Rwenzururu and killed very many people in the palace. More than 60. The minister should not even be talking about the people who died. He should be talking about the people they killed in the Rwenzururu palace. The incarceration of their king. The incarceration of their king. It is actually the king who has the capacity to order the Bakonzo to plant the trees. If the king ordered, in just 1 month they will have the trees. But he's incarcerated. His people are dying when he's incarcerated. Why don't they release the king to go and do his work?
You have a point. Dr. Girard, from Rwenzori, we can now also look at Bududa and everywhere. It is the same story, and good enough they are your neighbors, I think, in Bududa. Are we really serious about this environment?
Exactly. No, we are not serious. We have had many studies around. It's not that these people don't know where these disasters are likely to happen. If you talk about disasters, you know Bugisu is a candidate. You know Rwenzori is a candidate. And then when you go to lowlands, like some parts of Teso, where it overrains, you know their cassava will rot in the garden. And then they will go for months without hunger. You know Karamoja without food. Okay? So we know this. But we have also told the government that the issues of compulsory evacuation, if the rain increases, and you see the people in the mountain and the soil is very soft, they are likely to die. At least we even recommended this compulsory evacuation happens in a number of countries. There is a danger, get out. When the rain reduces, you go back. Here it doesn't happen because we enjoy getting per diems and rushing to the scene after people have died. And then we have talked about activation. We only activate disaster management committees when people have died. They have no funds. We said, why can't we have a fund? This fund can also be used, for instance, to systematically restore.
You have heard the
vegetation.
president is sending 5 million for every victim.
That is Panadol.
1 million for every for the injured.
Sincerely, that is Panadol. It does not solve the problem that occurs. Now let me look at the issue of Kasese itself. You know that much of the land in that area was gazetted for game parks. So people, even recently it was a campaign issue in the by-election in Busongora. The good land where people would have settled is a game park. Now people, the population, you know, for us mountain people produce a lot. As the population increases, people keep on going up, you know. Now, if we want to have a sustainable solution, why don't we then plant the trees in the highlands and then gazette some land for these people for settlement? Because for that area, honestly, it's a problem. You know, people are always fighting with animals. You know, the animals leave the game parks, go and eat their food. As they eat their food, the earthquakes come. It's a problem. So as we address these issues of disasters, we need to look at long-term solutions. But I am skeptical, like I've said, we're not going to see a solution anytime soon, apart from the 5 million per family when someone dies.
By the way, two things happen. They are demarcating land they say they have bought. I am hoping that they have not bought air, that we shall not be investigating that one as an air purchase. But
they may have bought air.
But if it exists, then we shall have ghost claimants.
Yeah.
That land will have ghost claimants. That is guaranteed in this country.
But what happened to us? What happened to this country? What happened to our land?
We shall be here talking about the ghost allocatees of pieces of land in that area. We shall be talking.
You will find even some ministers having blocks
on that land.
Oh yeah.
Actually, you remind me of the resettlement plan that was done in Bulambuli.
Exactly.
You remember that one? They built those houses. I remember those small houses, but they were good.
Do you know there are cases in court?
Even today, the same risk in Bududa exists. That's why. Why? I'm talking about an incident of 2009, 2012. But that resettlement plan money was pumped in, but again, the same problem they were meant to cure in Bududa and Sironko and all other districts still exists. Why?
You see, if you look at the government departments and you look at the office of the Prime Minister, I think the most highly prosecuted for taking money is the disaster management. Yeah. So you see, it is the disaster itself. And we have a policy, very wonderful, prevention and management, commanded again by the Constitution. This Kasese now, with the deaths and things, we are going to have an investigation about how the money was spent. By the way, there will be ghost bodies given 5 million. This allocating of 5 million and 1 million to the injured. There will be ghosts there who will be allocated money for this. It's such a pervasive and has permeated so much that we cannot deal with it using declarations by people on television. I think there has to be a rebellion. There has to be a revolution around this issue of our greed, of our grabbing, and the destruction and pain and death that it is causing.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Richard. And it is now time we take your comments and views. You can send your SMS or on both the SMS platform and WhatsApp platform on 0701609906. Let's receive and read your messages right now in just a few minutes because we are now coming towards the end of the show. Tell us about what you think the environment policy in Uganda, the implementation, how has it been, and what do you think should be done to protect the environment? His Excellency the President at the start of this this 5-year term, he came out unequivocally and said, we are now going to evacuate every other individual who is in wetlands. I am amazed. Do you know that we don't have a clear gazetted wetlands in this country? Can you believe it?
We don't have.
We were in the Committee of Parliament. NEMA officials said they don't know, they don't have a clear gazetted plan, a clear gazetted draft of our wetland in this country. So you are able to go to settle in any other wetland in this country. And we are seeing even people in the name of investors encroaching on wetlands, building industries in wetlands. I don't know what, let me hear from you what the consequences will be.
It is very, very true what they said. I don't know who should move the house to gazette those wetlands.
Government has never gazetted
I was
wetlands
amazed
in this country.
Like in Kagadi, to hear the environmental officer telling us that they have 2 gazetted wetlands. The wetlands are along Nguse River and along Muzizi River. I said, is this how we are going to manage this country if we are serious in protecting the environment? Because almost small streams which used to have water, all of them had they were covered by wetlands. Either the source of the stream was from a huge swamp, along with it, where it would move with a bigger chunk of wetland. Now people have cornered in and squeezed the water, then the water has gone underground. They are digging on top of it. All those places have not been gazetted. I don't know why those managing this country have not seen the value of at least of gazetting even every village wetland. Even if it is in my land, even if it is in my land, as long as it is a wetland where there is water flowing, it should be gazetted as a wetland. It should be gazetted as a wetland. There should be no luxury of us destroying any piece. Experience has shown that even when that particular area has been distempered with, if you left it for some time, it would regenerate itself. Like I happen to have some land in where my home is currently, in Busoiga, which has a swamp. Which has a swamp. People who are my neighbors decided to cut their area because we share the swamp, and mine I did not. Instead, I passed the barbed wire along because they were coming to eat.
Okay.
I enclosed it. Now the water ran this side to my area, to my side. That place. Then there was a good man up here who had destroyed. Then he left it. Now the swamp has regenerated itself. So how I wish this government would become serious. President Museveni stop just talking. You have an entire ministry. You have NEMA. We are tired of this empty talk.
Thank you so much, Honorable. It's a sad story, talking about the Rera wetland, what is happening there, talking about soil that is being put in Lake Victoria to create space for hotels and everything. You go around this city and you see wetlands being
we went to
decimated.
Somebody was reclaiming 21 acres.
I request that I give our correspondent in London, in Buckingham Palace, UK, just a few minutes to tell us exactly what is happening after the death of the head of the British monarchy. Tom Sebunga is live at Buckingham Palace. Tell us exactly what is happening after the death of Queen Elizabeth II.
Dear viewers, as we all know from today, that this has been a very sad week when we heard of the news that the Queen of England, she has always been known, she passed away suddenly. We did not expect it. As we were celebrating that we had a brand new Prime Minister, then we had the sad news that again the Queen has left. Lucky enough, we have a new king at the moment. And right now, at Buckingham Palace, people are still flocking in huge numbers to bring in flowers, to pay their tributes or to pay their respect to the Queen, who passed away a few days ago. Yesterday in the House of Parliament, they announced that we're going to have 10 days of memorial oba kyetuyinza okugamba okukungubagira Queen ono eyafudde ennaku 10. So tugenda kubanga tukuyisaamu mu nnaku 10 ezo okulaba biki ebigenda mu maaso waneeno. Kyakakasibwa dda nti already agenda kuba omubiri gwe baguleeta mu House of Parliament okubanga ate ba ministers abapya oba abalondeddwa bagenda kubanga nabo bawa ekitiibwa kyabwe eri Queen ono eyagenze. Tugenda kuba tukuyisako ku Buckingham Palace wennyini ku gates okulaga how many people have been able to turn up. At the moment, the police is controlling all those numbers, and they just want you to come in and you pay your respect by dropping a flower, and then you walk away. Kubanga abantu babadde bagenda kuba bangi nnyo nga bayinza okulemerera abantu bano okubanga baba managing in huge numbers.
Sebunga, tell us what have you gotten the information on when the Queen will be laid to rest, and what is the environment? You told us you are going to show us around at the gate of Buckingham Palace. Are very many people flocking the palace? What is it?
At the moment, we are not sure yet of the day that the Queen will be laid to rest. The plans are still a bit vivid because they want to keep them so secretive to avoid many people going to that place of burial where they won't be able to allowing them. But I'm very sure in the very near future, they're going to be telling us how many, who will be invited to be there, and also the date and time of burial itself. But at the moment, it's not very clear.
Videos we've been discussing about those mixed reactions after the Queen's death. In UK itself, do you really experience or have you received such a conflicting and mixed reactions? Some of them castigating the Queen for presiding over an institution that brought misery to millions and millions of people.
The way it is down here is that people really loved the Queen. We have not had that much commotions in the numbers of people. To be honest, the English or the white people are strange. Most of them will keep their views for now just to remember the good works that she had done for this country. But at the moment, we have not had much. Obviously, in the first few days, many have been coming out saying that the monarchy should also be demolished and they just have a political housing or something of that sort. But at the moment, people are just want to celebrate the 96 years of this lady's life, and also the 70 years she has spent as Queen of England.
So much, Tom, and we'll be catching up with you in our subsequent programs. We would want to, of course, follow up and know what is happening in UK and at the palace as they prepare to lay the Queen to rest. Thank you so much. For that time, our correspondent at Buckingham Palace in UK. And let's come back to the studios, and we utilize these 7 minutes. Gentlemen, Doctor, you can, we had talked about, exhausted that issue. Maybe we'll come back to it next time. But let's now switch back to our, what you think should be the recommendations to the policymakers in this country to overturn this tragedy that is looming over the destruction and decimation of the environment.
One, we need to be serious about enforcement. Like the example he has given you is about double standards and failure to enforce the laws rightly. Because if the law says you protect the forests and then you're giving the forest for cutting, because some people are benefiting from selling the wood, by the way, that wood is in billions of shillings. If trees have been there for over 200 years, someone is making a kill out of it, and then of course the land is also going. Two, we need to gazette the wetlands, like we are saying. We are identifying a gap that we even don't know what we describe as a wetland and which is not a wetland. You can go to Chira municipality where I live, around the Chirinya. There's a place called Lost City. I talked about it here. People just arrived calling themselves veterans. They cut all the forest down, they occupied. Then before you know it, the land has changed hands like 3-4 times. And then before you realize, there's national water, there is umeme. So it means it's a network. It's a network of grabbing these forests and these wetlands. Uganda, see now, they have left the forest. They are now selling swamps, just swamps to people, where you can buy land at 2 million shillings. Then a rich person will later buy from you and take it. So I don't know where the government is, because one time I said we have too much presence of the state in Uganda and also too much absence of the state. There is presence of the state if, say, you are going to hold a peaceful demonstration. Within a minute, you see trucks or police chasing you. But where there is enforcing law and order and protecting public interest, you don't find there.
Good.
Now, we also talk about risk mapping. Let's be serious to understand where these risks occur, which risks, and then also let's have the disaster fund progressively, not reactionary. By then we have created this patriarchal kind of, that a problem. You saw the Honorable in Kasese. The president has provided
is running
this.
out.
It looks as if there is some money by the president in his pocket to solve this problem, instead of handling
a disaster fund
as a nation.
Baguma, Richard, how do we get out of this? Because
you see,
we have talked and talked.
Yeah, that's
and
what I was going
it
to
is
say.
Suicide.
I was going to say that when we continue talking, I mean, really, when you have people who have horns in their ears, I am not sure that this talking, but maybe we shall awaken one or two citizens. The other thing is that, you see, you can also sustainably exploit forests and wetlands. So I think for me, it's one of the things we should be going for. We can sustainably utilize this for good livelihoods, for economic income to the nation and to the people. So we get a win-win. I think this also, and they are known, this should be done. But I don't know what we can do with the grid. I think we need
the
more.
big people, big shots.
The grid, I think, it cuts across, and I think we need to be more forceful. I think we need to be more forceful as a population and create a threat. Otherwise, this talking might not be a good threat to the people. It's like in this, finally, for me, I missed to hear my brother Tinka Simbere's view on the act they are pushing very quickly, which is called the Computer Misuse Act. I would have benefited, but
it is
don't have
already
time for it.
Before the president.
Yeah, but I think it is the parliamentary misuse of their powers
Okay.
Act, it should be called.
Thank you so much, Richard. Honorable, we only have 2 minutes, and I'm worried. I don't know if your parliament was not on top of that hill, what I would be finding you in the chambers, and possibly would have come out strongly to protect the wetlands and environment.
No, Parliament, by the fact that it has made enabling laws, what else do you want Parliament to do?
Okay.
To constitute it, to overthrow the president, constitute itself into an executive, and go and implement the law? No, for us, we have done our part.
Your voters are dying.
Namesake told you the area of environment is the highly legislated area. It is true that the biggest bulk of laws that I have on my shelf are in the area of environment. I actually have volumes and volumes, volumes and volumes stemming from the forest authority. Now NEMA is, you can see we even have two independent bodies.
Yeah,
NEMA,
NFA, yeah,
and the NFA. You discover that there is a lot of legislation.
And the Ministry of Water on one side also.
And all of it is just thrown there.
Then we created the environment policy.
Recently, we thought we can even do much better by creating an independent committee of climate change in the House. That is a step for Parliament to indicate that we are very serious. But we are let down by this regime.
How will we
Because if you are going to deploy our army men, not even the police, to superintend over a destruction of it, I felt like I should fill an application and go to another country.
NEMA has a small personnel of environmental police, but when they go to the site, they find there UPDF.
And they're chased.
Of course, I want to assure you that this Muyindi is pulling down this critical resource. When the army men, even when they saw us, because I visited the place, and when people saw me, they came, they thought they had seen somebody who was going to help them to maybe remove the army men, maybe remove the Muyindi, so they were very many. Now when these army men saw us, they were like at war. They literally even cocked guns. I said, now, is this a regime or we just have some...
It's time we close, and it's a pleasure, Honorable, having you on the show. Just
what I want to state lastly is that this regime should know that after this regime, there is going to be another regime. So they should not make it extremely difficult for my daughter, for my son, who is coming in to run this country. No. We are being unfair.
Okay. Baguma, just a parting shot.
No. The greed can only beget a revolution at a certain point. You can think that you are protected by what he was talking about, these guns. I can assure you the greed will bury you unprotected.
Good. Doctor, your parting shot?
The Computer Misuse Act, I think it is there to steal for the voices, especially citizens journalism. And yet this citizens journalism is really helping us. Someone, like what he was doing, a person records, and then we
have to seek for consent from the person you're going to
within a second, we know what someone is doing somewhere. But now they want to block us from doing that. So it's really unfortunate. First of all, I want to ask, under the UCC Act, where is the tribunal?
No.
Because it provided for a tribunal where some of these disputes can be resolved. Now they want to criminalize us for sharing information.
But the tribunal is supposed to be formed by the president, to be constituted by the president.
But it's not there. Just as the president has not done his role of appointing a governor of the central bank.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Gerard Wereo Wanzara. Thank you so much, Richard Baguma. It's always a pleasure. Honorable Barnabas Tinkasimile, it's always a pleasure. But it is sad when we see the environment being decimated. And we've talked about just the wetlands and forests. But even the air we breathe now, it's getting
very
bad and toxic. Let's conclude the show with another report from Tom Sebunga at Buckingham Palace. Conclude this show of the dialogue, please.
Yes, as obviously as you can see, there's so many people who are still coming in, and as I had promised you earlier on, I so much wanted you guys to see the flowers. How many flowers have been laid at the palace gate itself? Unfortunately, the police here is not allowing anyone to go way too close at the moment, so they want to make sure all those flowers can be reduced and then others can still come in. You can see behind me, people are still walking in huge numbers, and they have lined up a whole long queue of people so that they can be able to, be part of all this commemoration that is taking place in London at the moment.
And like I said, we'll always wait to hear from you, giving us reports on what is happening as the UK mourns the falling of the head of the British monarchy. Thank you so much for that report. We'll catch up with you in our subsequent programs. And the dialogue is coming to a quick close. My name is Prince Apollo Baguma Tinkasimire, Honorable Barnabas Tinkasimire, and Dr. Gerard Wanzala. We say thank you so much, our viewers. Thank you so much for that feedback. It's really encouraging, and we didn't get time to read your comments, but next time we'll be doing that exactly.
And we didn't really say sorry to you, Prince, because we shall know your kingdom next time.
Okay.
Sorry, Prince.
And condolences again to the British and the people in Kasese. Good afternoon and a good week ahead.